in Nano, I want to deviate a little from teaching how to write Opamiri to talk about Opamiri names. We're going to discuss why we bear foreign names, why our people should use our Opamiri names, give them to our children, why now at present our people do not use our names, the reasons behind them, and of course the implications of changing your surname and bearing only your father's name. Christianity, Islam, and colonialism imposed on us diverse foreign names that we bear and have accepted as better than our own names. But the question is, are the foreign names that we bear, are they actually better than our local native names? The English names that we bear, don't they have local equivalents and variants that we can use? Is it true that it is when you bear so-called Christian name that you will go to heaven? Is it true that it is when you bear Islamic names that Allah will accept you? Some people believe in Christian and Islamic names, but I tend to say that there is nothing like Islamic names. I know that. I'm not saying that to slight Islam. I'm not saying Islam is not real, but it is arguable. When you say Islamic names, you're actually referring to Arabic names that are used in Islam. When you say you bear Christian name because you are a Christian, that is why you are bearing a Christian name, you are actually saying that you are bearing English names that are used in Christianity or Hebrew names that are used in Christianity. Religions do not have names. It is the people that practice a particular religion that have the names that they bear. When they import the religion to another land, to a foreign land, the new converts believe that the names that accompany the religion are actually names of the religion. Otherwise, we shouldn't be talking about Christian names, Islamic names, Ogun name, Ayelala name. We don't have anything like that. It is the people who practice the religion that are bearing the names. So it is either you are bearing an English name or you are bearing a Hebrew name. It is either you are bearing a native name or you are bearing an Arabic name used in Islam. So if you bear Ibrahim, if you bear Muhammad, if you bear Al-Hassan, or you bear all such names, or you bear Moses, or you bear Isaiah, you bear Obadiah, you bear Elijah, it doesn't really make you a prophet. How many prophecies have you prophesied for your people? Has that turned you to become a prophet? We are also told that some kind of special names are saints. Accordingly, you have Saint Stephen's, Saint Patrick, Saint Augustine, Saint Teresa, Saint Esther, never ever Saint Dada, never ever Saint Obina, never ever Saint Olorufemi, never ever Saint Ogunubi. You never have that. Only their ancestors are saints, and you believe. So when we have children, we hand them over to religious people. There is a difference between religion and culture. Naming a child is your own authority. Naming your child is your own duty. According to the Yoruba people, Ile Lanwo láti sọmọ lórúkọ. And our people, we have it like the Imoga people, and in fact, Opamiri people. The Imoga say, inene bonyo, and I have gonyo. Inene na ha gopa, and I have gofi. Inene na ha chezopahe, inene ne kumubinorimi. That means that Irene or Eva or name is what you use to address someone, is what you use to praise a king, is what you use to insult commoners. Circumstances determine how individual families give their children names. We bear foreign names whose meanings you do not even know. You just bear them. You don't even know the meaning. You just pick them, you bear them because that makes you appear funky. You want to be modern. So in Africa, there's something in a name, not just the way Europeans, Americans, and white people bear anything name. They bear anything. You hear a man, his name is Bushman or George Bush, road, rock, whatever they bear. But even then, they also have meanings. It could be that the person was born in a classroom and so they named him classroom. It has a meaning. It could be I was born on the road and say Mr. Road or Mr. Bush. If was born in the bush, if was born near the water, they call him water pool. So, names all over the world have meanings. That was the original practice. What did our forefathers and foremothers, permit me to use that word, establish for us that we have deviated from? That's creating problems for our history and creating problems for our culture. There is number one, inenebake, irenebake, or evavake. That means ground name. Some people also call it inenebafe. That is home name. Others call it irenebegwafe or inenebegwafe or evabegwafe. That is name given by the family. We call it ground name, inenebake, because when you are born on the earth. So that is ake. And when they give you name to take you up, that is inenebake, meaning your original name. It is that name that English people call first name. It's usually native then. The second one is what they call inenebeva. English call second name. We also had it in our culture. That is, your father gives you a name, and maybe your mother or any other person in the family can give you another name. That is your father's name. Your father has a name that was his first name when he was born. That is Inenebe Shabwe, Inenebe Shabwe, Inenebe Yabwe. Okay, Ineneada. That is your father's name. And then there is Inenebe Gwafe or Ineneafe, Ireneafe, Evafe. Evafe is the highest. That is what the Englishman calls surname or family name. It is not personal. It is not your father's name. It is the name that everybody who has emanated, born in your family bears from generation to generation. That surname was designed by our people for several reasons. Number one, to keep the family one. Number two, and most importantly, to keep the history of the family so that you can have family tree genealogy. Those of you who are Christians, go to the Bible. You will see where they trace the history, the genealogy of Jesus Christ back to Solomon. In fact, from Solomon back to Abraham. Abraham born this one born this one born this one born this one, up to Solomon. Solomon gave birth to this, he gave birth to that, till Jesus Christ. Tell any primary person to trace his genealogy now, it's lost. Do you know why we have lost it? Because what our forefathers placed on the ground, we didn't follow. And that was why we always are fond of changing our surname. It is the surname and your father's name that keeps the history of your family. It is the surname that that keeps your family history, that keeps those who have, who were born, great people who were born in your family. So you don't have to change your surname. I know that some surname have negative connotations and you need to change them. If you need to change that name and it's a surname, you need to change it. Have a discussion with your family and say, look, this name is not good. Like people bearing Ozo, Mehalozore, Mehalozo. There was a reason for that. But today it may no longer be relevant because you don't want to bear that name, Mehalozore. That means I'm suffering. Family together and change it differently. But unfortunately, what we now do is that we pick our name and we pick our father's name, or we pick our grandfather's name as surname. That's wrong. Your father's name is not your surname, it's not your family name. It is his own personal name, and it can create problem for you later. Let me give you an excellent example from my sister in Imoga recently, very recently. Her name that he was using in school is Omokafe Augustine. And so when the name went to NYSC, that is, Omokafe is the first name that she was given. Augustine, which he now uses as his surname. So when they send the name to Abuja, people who know this is about son, they looked at it. So how can Augustine be a family name? They thought that it was swapped. And so they made it Augustine Omokafe. They say, oh, this native name may be the surname, Augustine Omokafe. And that changed the identity of my sister completely. So when the thing came back, I said, no, my name is not Augustine. That is, they have made her a man now. instead of a woman that she is, or mock her fair. She missed service for 2 years. She was fighting it, correcting it, go, right to Abuja, right to student affairs dean, right to the dean of the department, go to the department HOD and all that. So she was just running around to correct a problem that she and her father created for her. And so it was during this crisis that she consulted me. First question I asked is that, what is your surname? You say Augustine. I say, Augustine in Imoga? I don't know any Augustine. How can Augustine be your surname in Imoga? How and why is Augustine your surname? You have a family name that is very popular. He now said, yes, it's my father that said we should be burying Augustine. Because maybe he's enamored. Like that, I mean, he's so attracted with the Saint Augustine. That will make his children saints, or they will easily go to heaven by bearing Saint Augustine. And I say, is that your father? And she now mentioned the family name, which is Ojearo. And that name, when it's been turned to Jaru in Imoga now. If you say Jaru in Imoga, everybody knows Ojearo or Ozearo. That simply means the one who is in front. And it's a royal name in Imoga. We know the Ojearos in Imoga. Jaru, we call it Jaru, shortened form Jaru, that is Ojearo. I said, are you from Ojearo family? Are you turning to Augustine? And I called the father and said, why did you say that your children should be bearing Augustine? Is Augustine your surname? He didn't have anything to say. So don't change your surname anyhow. Let me give you another example that happened recently. Second example, I met a girl from Ojirami, or boarded the vehicle from Auchi, going to Benin together. We sat together. Name, what's your name? And he said, my name is Belinda Douglas. I laughed. Belinda Douglas. And I asked further, are you a Briton or an American? Are you European that you are bearing Belinda Douglas? How can Douglas be your surname? I said, no. That's her father's name. I said, hey, it's now you are talking. Your father's name is not your surname. Your surname is your family name. And I said, what's your family name? And she mentioned a deep Opamiri name. The moment he mentioned it, I said, this name sounds like Opamiri. He said, yes, I am from Oja or from Ojirami. I said, why did you not use his name? And again, he said, my father said I should be using Douglas. He wants us to use his name. And I said, no, that's an error. Do you know the meaning of Belinda? Belinda means snake. And she was saying, what? I said, check. She checked, it's easy to Google. And he said, Jesus, I didn't know. I said, okay, so are you a snake? He said, no. I said, do you know the meaning of Douglas? I said, when you get home, tell your father that Douglas means black water. They say, how can that be? My father is very fair. Somebody who is fair has turned his name to dark water because he wants to bear a funky, fanciful English name. What do you call that? Example number 3. A day after the recent local government elections, I was at home at the Below, and there was a case of a lost but found child of 8 years. And luckily enough, our commissioner for social development and women affairs was at home. And so, being her jurisdiction, she drove straight to the police station at Ibilo to have custody of the child. We met at the police station. And so, followed her all the way to Oja. Do you know that we couldn't identify, the origin of the boy? Because he gave his name as Sunday Victor. We were able to establish that he left Oja and somehow found himself at Ibilo. By the time we got to Oja, it was established that the boy is from Enwa. We had to drive to the Odafe of Enwan's palace. And when we got there, we couldn't identify who his father is. They asked the boy, what's your father's name? He said, Victor. Victor. The first question the Odafe said, which family is Victor? Because Victor is not a surname in N1, it's not our local name. We now call the mother, and the mother gave the name of the husband as a Germany. The moment they say Germany, oh, the other face say, oh, I know the Germany family. And so they call one of the Germany's sisters or brothers, and they admitted that they know Victor. Why is he bearing Sunday Victor? Is he an Englishman? What? Where is the surname? It is the surname that identifies you, that gives you history, that gives you origin. You don't just change it and just change it like that. This generation don't bear our native names anymore. Their father's name, English. Their own name, English. Look, no matter how you bear English names, the Englishman does not recognize you as an English person. He still sees you as his or her slave. That's the truth if you do know that. That is the way they have continued to treat us. That you bear Rebecca, Douglas, or you bear Patrick, Emmanuel, will not make you, even if you like, bear Jesus Christ, you will not become Jesus. You won't become Jesus. That does not guarantee you're going to heaven. So bear your native names so that your history is not cut off. And finally, when you go to some family, you can't trace their genealogy anymore. If I ask you now, what is the name of your great-grandfather? You don't know. If I ever ask you, what is the name of your grandfather? You may not know because you are using your father's name. Let me tell you what happens. As you use your father's name, and your father has a son, okay, and is using his father's name, when that son has his own son, he will use his own name. So your father will be cut off. That is minus father. Minus. Then, as it goes on, you just keep canceling your genealogy. Canceling your genealogy. What are people put on the ground? That an Okpamiri child bears is Ininebake. That is Egbinini. Ininene Eyabwe. Elobwe or Onue. And on now. Eshede Biao. And Ikinebake. That is the name you should bear. After that, you add your father's name. After your father's name, you add your son's name. I want to thank those who have maintained this established genealogy. Lord, that you just cut off. Once you cut off, your child will cut off, your great-grandchild cut off, the family is scattered. So please, my people, there is joy in bearing our names. English people don't bear our names. Bear your name. The names you bear in English, they have a primary equivalent.